Oh, y'all don't mind me. Just soaking my dog, you know. Let me jump hump it a little bit. All right, I think it's good. Mm. Y'all, I thought I'd start the review with a little lightheartedness because the end of this review is going to get very heavy. So let's get into it. The episode opens up with Heather. Excuse me, y'all. Still a piece of hot dog on my, still a piece of wiener on my lip. You know, I'm usually cleaner than that. But the episode begins with Heather and Whitney meeting at Whitney's house. They're getting ready for this event, this whole Salt Lake City, Troop Salt Lake City camp themed event. And so while they're getting ready, they're reflecting on the brunch at Mary's house. And Whitney, she gives Heather credit. She's like, I just commend you for working things out with Bronwyn. And Heather did the bare minimum. Okay. She gave a half assed apology, made a whole bunch of excuses. And, she claims she accepted Bronwyn's apology. But then here we go right here. She's flipping and she's just like, I still don't trust the girl. It was all fake. And it don't surprise me. Heather's never going to see it for that girl because Heather's insecure. Fast forward, we get to Meredith is at an art gallery waiting for Mary. And so Mary, she's still at home. She's trying to get Robert Jr. to come out his room. She hasn't seen him in a while. Finally, she just leaves and she's on the way. Meredith is waiting there and she FaceTimes Brooks. And Brooks is like, maybe Mary has like something going on because this is out of character with her. And so I'm just going to get into it right now. Meredith is at the bottom of my list on Salt Lake City now. I'm talking below Heather. And the reason she is because throughout this episode, she did it here. She had, like, this whole thing was set up. It was a scheme. We know how Meredith does. Meredith always drops breadcrumbs about a rumor, and then she lets someone else pick it up. She lets everyone speculate, and then that's how it comes out. And then she just, takes her hands off of it, like, no, I didn't say anything. And this is exactly what she's doing here. And I feel like this is not the situation to be doing it, okay? She had Brooks bring that up on purpose, I feel like the whole, oh yeah, this is out of character for her. She keeps saying it's out of character for her. She brought it up at her dinner later on. She's like, oh yeah, this is so out of character for her. Like something must be going on. Something must be going on. Something must be going on. It's like, y'all all know what's going on and y'all aren't trying to say it, but y'all are low key trying to perpetuate it. And it's trash to me, especially with what this boy is really going through. It's trash. So Meredith, she's at the bottom below Heather. And I never thought I'd be saying that because when season one started, Meredith was my favorite housewife. Meredith was my favorite housewife up until this season. And this right here, before this episode, even though she wasn't my favorite, Heather was at the bottom. Meredith is damn sure below Heather right now because, yeah, it's messed up. It's messed up. And then she's doing interviews and she's like not really showing any remorse. She's kind of just making it about her, now that this all aired. And I'm just like, I hope she get dragged at this reunion. And Lord, so much has happened in this season too. The reunion needs to be like 4 parts at this rate because there is so much happening. But I hope Meredith gets dragged. I hope Heather gets dragged. Just them two. Everyone else can do whatever. But I hope them two really get put under the damn couches at the reunion. Because, whoo, let me calm down, y'all. My emotions are so heightened because of that last scene. And I'm going to explain once I get there. But I'm at a 10 right now. She got me pissed. Now, I will say this, though. I'll give her this. Mary could have texted Meredith and be like, hey, I'm running late. She didn't have to give a detailed explanation, especially if she didn't want to share what was going on. She could have just said, hey, I'm running late. She could have at least done that. Because my whole thing is I don't care what you got going on. It take 2 seconds to send a text message. So I'd have been pissed right there. First of all, I'm sure production probably made her stay because I would not have waited 45 minutes. We get to the 20, 30 minute mark, I'm leaving. And then you didn't do the courtesy of texting me. You would have got there to an empty scene. You would have got there and been looking around like where I was, and I would have been on my way home, if not home already. So, but I will give Mary this too, because she said this later on in the episode. She was like, look, if she'll stop renting in Park City, I wouldn't have to drive so far. I was in Salt Lake City in August, and I can verify it's a 45-minute drive without traffic. I can imagine how it is with traffic, and they film it in the winter. It's snowing out there. The roads is probably bad. Like, yeah, I can imagine. But regardless, I would have still been pissed if I was Meredith. So I'll give her that part of it. Mary finally arrives, And so Meredith was like, hey, like, are you okay? Like, what's going on? And so Mary's kind of like, yeah, I'm okay. I can't remember what exactly she said, but she gave a half ass answer, like hinting that everything wasn't okay. And it just flew past Meredith, and she's like, okay, well, these are my issues. And Meredith just starts airing out her grievances and being the victim. And like, that's the thing is like, if you're really a friend, I know there's you can go two ways with this because I know there's some people like I'm not gonna sit there and try to drag it out of somebody if they don't want to tell me. But it's like okay, that's fine. But Meredith didn't try hard enough. She didn't really sit there and be like, girl, like for real, like what's going on? Because I have friends like that who don't want to talk about things. I'm a person, I wear my emotions on my sleeve, but I'd be like, girl, what's going on? Like, forget all of this right now, all these issues or whatever. What's going on? Because this is not like you. She didn't do that at all because all she cares about is herself and how she can make herself the victim. And the problem is on that last episode, Mary gave her the perfect opportunity to become the victim. So, ooh, getting under my skin. They getting under my skin. But anyway, I'm okay, y'all. I'm gonna try not to drag Meredith too badly. Mary's pretty much like, I've never seen you, walk out of anybody else's house or walk away from anybody else's event when there's an issue. You've only done that to me, and you severed our friendship by doing that. And she's like, you're always playing a victim. She called it like it is. Meredith is over here talking about, oh, like you've colluded with Angie and like you didn't defend me and you used me for 3 years. And I'm like, girl, you are really delusional because a lot of people are gonna sit here and go because I think she said it too. She was like, "When nobody had your back, I had your back." Yes, that is true, but at the same time, I feel like everyone's forgetting that when nobody had Meredith's back, Mary had your back also. During that Vale trip, was it Vale or the other trip? Whichever trip that was, no, because Vale Jen didn't make it on. That second trip that they went on, that last trip to Zion, they were coming at Meredith hard. Everybody was coming at Meredith. Jen was yelling in her face. They were speculating about her dad's memorial. Meredith was going through it. Every time Meredith got up and walked away from the table, who got up and went with her? Mary was the only one going with her. Mary got up with her, went into the room and checked on her. When Meredith was in that room locked in there, Mary was banging on doors like, no, girl, like at least let me walk in and check on you. Mary was following her all around while the other girls was causing a scene and coming at her. So it goes both ways. Like y'all both had each other's back when everyone was against y'all. But there's never been a time really when Mary didn't have your back when people were coming hard at y'all versus when Jenny threw a glass at her, you didn't check on a girl. And you even admitted that Mary was mad at you about that at the reunion. That girl threw a glass at her and you just let her walk away and didn't care. So if you really want to weigh out who's been a better friend, I feel like Mary has been a better friend to you. So what are you saying, girl? But Mary's like, I don't have time for this. I'm leaving. And like I said, Mary told him, so you used me for 3 years, girl. Nobody's using you for anything. Mary don't need you. Mary don't need anybody. Mary can be a lone wolf because she can take on all these girls. So get out of here with that. But next scene, we get a scene of Lisa and Angie at the aquarium, and they bring their kids, and it was cute. They got to see like the snakes and stuff like that. And so they end up sitting down and talking while the kids go off. And so I'll say this. Lisa is a very demanding friend. I'm pretty sure Angie was right when she was like, you calling all day. And Lisa, she's so delusional though. She's sitting in her confessional talking about, yeah, I, take all of Angie's calls. No, girl, Angie's taking all of your calls. I know Angie's not calling you 10 times a day. You're calling her 10 times a day. So she's sitting there talking about, excuse me, y'all, that hot dog. It was that ketchup. I think I'm getting freaking acid reflux or heartburn or something. I'll need a Tums in a second. But where was I at? Sorry, it kind of caught me off guard. Oh, so Lisa's a demanding friend, right? And I will say this though, even though Lisa's a demanding friend, Lisa has been a good friend to Angie. When all that stuff was going on with Monica and her husband and everything, and even with Meredith, like Lisa was blindly defending her. She was going at Monica. She was yelling at Meredith on the yacht at the trip. Like Lisa was really defending this girl. Angie has been a shitty friend to Lisa in return. Okay? You went, and this part though, I will say it's unintentional because I feel like Angie went to Whitney with Lisa's business, trying to like just say, "Hey, like Lisa's mad at you, like work on this." But regardless, Lisa told you she did not like that. You didn't apologize. You didn't care. Then you went to Meredith with Whitney and tried to turn her against Lisa. Yeah, tried to turn her against Lisa. Then you're in the park with Whitney, trying to turn Bronwyn against Lisa. Okay. Then you called Lisa a bad mom. And I'm still sticking by that. Like, and then you're gonna sit here and lie and say you didn't say it. You saying that she's not a present parent, and that all she does is put her kids in front of video games so she doesn't have to watch them. That's calling her a bad mom. So Angie, you have not been a good friend, and you're a liar too because you sat here and lied to Lisa's face, saying that you didn't call her a bad mom. You sat and lied later, saying you didn't say the stuff that you said when Bronwyn was confronting you about it. Like, girl, no. I can't believe I'm on Lisa's side in here. I cannot believe like the tides are turning. Like Meredith used to be my favorite, now she's not. I used to always be against Lisa, now I'm not. The tides are like really turning, y'all. I don't know what's happening. Mercury must be in retrograde. I don't know, but Lisa even lets her know like, hey, like what do you need from me? You know, like Lisa apologizes and she's like, what do you need from me? And Angie, she also apologizes for like some of the stuff that she did. And so Angie's pretty much like, I need you to just be a softer friend because I feel like when you get loud and you get activated, it's very triggering for me. And I'm like, girl, well, how is it triggering for you when you be getting loud and activated? Like you really, Angie picks and chooses who she can get loud with. And I think it all boils down to she's scared of Lisa. Angie is scared of Lisa because you ain't had no problem yelling at Monica during a reunion, calling her a dirt bag, talking about her Range Rover being parked under the carport. Now I support all of this stuff. It was good shade, and Angie was activated at that reunion, but you didn't have no problem doing all of that. You didn't have no problems yelling at Meredith all the time. You didn't have no problem coming at Bronwyn and Meredith later on, telling them to shut the fuck up or whatever she said to them later on. It's like you pick and choose who you want to yell at. So you're saying like, oh, I'm traumatized by, you know, this type of energy, but then you do that energy with people who don't buck back at you. Make it make sense. No, the whole thing is you're just scared of Lisa. But they come to a little common ground. They hug it out and everything is okay. We know that's not going to last long because she going to be throwing flowers at Lisa later. And when she throw flowers at Lisa, I'll give her flowers for not being scared of Lisa. But until then, you a punk and you're a hypocrite. So, next scene. So the next day, or the next scene at least, we get to the camp day. And so all the girls are getting ready, and Mary, she's knocking on Robert Jr.'s door again. He's not coming out. She hasn't seen him in days. And then when they show like the pictures of them when they were younger, and she's in that confessional, she's just like, I want my baby back. My heart already started to break. But I will say this, the build up to this episode was good, but it did not prepare me for what was going to happen at the end. I was not prepared for the severity of it. I'll say that. But the girls are in the car riding to the camp day. Mary and Andrew recounting, you know, what happened with her meetup with Meredith. Meredith, Lisa, and Bronwyn are recounting the same thing. And so they're talking about it. And the shade was funny in Mary and Angie's car because she's like, you know, I can't believe she took the parting gift. I thought she was going to take a vase on the way out. And Mary's like, well, where's she going to put it in her Airbnb? They were on it. Meredith in her car playing the victim as usual. And Lisa and Bronwyn were just sitting there listening. Bronwyn, though, ends up telling them, like, I'm surprised that, you know, I got invited. And Meredith's like, I'm surprised I got invited. She's like, yeah, I'm surprised they're doing this event together because Whitney said some not so nice things about Heather. And I'm going to get to how I feel about that in a second when it comes back up. But we get to the event. Let's see what happens at this event. Oh, Bronwyn looked the best. I will say that. Bronwyn looked the best. Maylee, what the fuck was she wearing? Why was she even there, honestly? But what the fuck was she wearing? She looked a hot mess. And you know it's a sad day when Brittany usually looked the worst. And Maylee had her beat. That bitch looked so tacky. I was like, oh my God, get her off. Like, it was hurting my eyes. My glasses almost cracked. Thank goodness I got insurance on them. It was too much. But she comes in and we start talking about Brittany and her dating Jared, and that's when we talk about the whole soaking thing. And then later on, we talk about jump humping, and I'm like, I can't believe this is a real thing. It's crazy. That is crazy that people do something like that. I can't. This is gonna sound real vulgar. I'm sorry, y'all. I can't imagine putting it in and just not having the urge to thrust. That you gotta have. That takes a lot of self control for you to just be able to just sit in it. I ain't got no self control, so ain't no fucking way I'll be able to do that. But sorry, I know that was TMI, but the whole thing was already TMI. Ain't nobody want to hear that, and nobody wants to hear that how to be soaking. Ooh. But they talk a little bit, and so they end up doing a little event. All we saw was a potato sack race. I hope they did more than that, and it was just editing. That's all they showed, but. Afterwards, y'all, some chaos ensued. And I will say one thing I love about Salt Lake City is that all of their dinners and all of their events is always a clusterfuck of people arguing. Take like last episode, it started off, I don't even know Brittany kicked it off. And then like Angie jumped in, Mary jumped in, Lisa and Bronwyn got into it a little bit. Bronwyn and Heather got into it. Like, it's always a clusterfuck. But it's like that every season, too. Like, all of their dinners, Salt Lake City, hands down, always has the best dinners because everybody just jumps in at the right time. They just all, somehow, one argument just happens to segue into another, and it's always perfect. So the girls sit down. They're getting their little snacks together or whatever. And so Heather's like, oh, tell us a story about, like, tell us a camping story. So Brittany starts talking about how when she went on some pilgrimage or something like that, because that's what they do in, like, the Mormon culture. Sorry, y'all, if I'm getting it wrong, but y'all know what I mean. She went on a pilgrimage in nature at 12 years old. And so Angie's like, well, do you celebrate? Do you still practice Mormonism? And she's like, yeah. She's like, oh, well, I thought it was funny that, you chastised me about the wine, but then you sent me a text message. Now, I will say this. I know I defended Brittany as far as there's a time and a place for everything. I don't want to be getting, shit faced in front of my family. I don't want to be getting shit faced in front of like certain coworkers or my boss or shit faced in front of people I go to church with. Like, I understand that. But at the same time, I'm not going to send a text message saying, oh, thank you for all this. Like, if you had a problem with it, then you should have texted Angie and be like, hey, like, this just made me, thank you, I appreciate it, but this made me uncomfortable. That right there, now, that I understand, you're being a hypocrite, girl. You're being a hypocrite. So they get into it, and then I'm going to try to keep up with this, y'all. It was chaotic, but they get into it, and Mary jumps in, and she starts talking about etiquette, and hold on. It's too much. It's too much, y'all. Yeah, Mary jumps in and she calls her Two-Face. That's what she says. So then Lisa and Meredith, they try to defend Brittany. They're like, no, like it's not Two-Face. I think she was just expressing herself. And Mary's like, no, it's Two-Face. She ain't got no etiquette. She ain't got no coof. And you ain't got no coof either, Meredith. And so they start going back and forth. And Mary is pretty much like, look, I said if you can't be quiet to leave. Like she clarified. And she's like, you still don't feel bad? And Meredith's like, no. And I'm like, Meredith, this is why I hope you under the couch at the reunion. She need to not be on the couch anywhere. She need to not be invited to the reunion because she ain't got no damn storyline. Like, Brittany's been contributing more. Meredith could have been a friend of, and I know some people may be tired of Brittany's storyline with Jared, but at least she's given us something. Meredith could have been a friend of, Brittany could have been a housewife. End of discussion. So they start arguing. Sorry, I gotta look at my notes. Oh, Whitney jumps in somehow, and Whitney is like, "Yeah, like this is typical Lisa behavior." Talking about Meredith. So then here come Lisa using her favorite line: "Don't lie, Whitney. Don't lie." That should have been her tagline. Don't lie. And so she jumps in, and then soon as she says that, Lisa's like, well, you know what? Why don't you tell Heather what you said about her? And then, Bronwyn gets brought up. And so Bronwyn has been playing the game super smart until this point. Because going back to what she said in the car, why the fuck would you turn on Whitney for Lisa? Knowing Lisa, the type of person Lisa is, and knowing Lisa would do this. Soon as Lisa had the chance, she was going to bring that information up. And I thought Bronwyn, like, just throughout the season, Bronwyn has been playing the game very good. She's been playing both sides. She'll say one thing to Lisa, and then, when she went and said something to Whitney, she kind of said the same thing with the difference of like one or two words. So it was like if it got back around to her, she could still play off the, oh, I already heard Bronwyn say this, even though the wording was different. And so, like, I feel like she's been playing it smart. She was making sure she was friends with Angie. So then, when it came later down on the road and Angie was getting into confrontation, or Braun was getting into confrontation, Angie would defend her. And it's like, you were being smart with the alliances, and then you just sat there in that car and ruined it. You really sat there in that car and ruined it in a second. And for what? Lisa fucking Barlow, when you know how she moves. So, Bronwyn, sorry, girl. You lost this one. You lost this one. So then Angie jumps in and she's like, well, why don't you talk about all the shit you were talking about, Lisa? And Bron was like, no, like y'all were talking about her. I was saying that's not the experience I have with Lisa, which is correct. And then Bronwyn is saying, you said something about Lisa's always fucking ruining things or something like that. And Angie's like, I didn't say that. You need to put in a Meredith's hearing aid. And Meredith's like, now how I get in this? Meredith was like, now how I get in this? And you know what Meredith saw? Meredith saw another moment for her to play the victim. So she's sitting there like, well, that's offensive. You're offending people with hearing aids and all that other stuff. And Angie not paying attention to it. So they're going back and forth. And then Whitney is finally like, look, all I said was, I feel like Heather and Lisa's relationship has affected me and Heather's relationship. And Heather's like, I know. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, Heather's saying that because she don't like Bronwyn, but I truly believe Heather does know that. Like, they fought about this before. They fought about it in Bermuda, actually, before this whole Reality Von Teese thing happened. They had that one dinner when Whitney was like, oh, if I explain me and Lisa's relationship to you, you'll be fucking triggered. And they were both fighting over, Lisa's friendship. They've been doing this. This ain't new to them. This ain't new to them. So Heather knows this. So, like, Bronwyn, you kind of threw yourself under the bus for no reason. They still arguing. Meredith is still trying to get her, victimness in by saying how offensive the hearing aid comment was. Mary jumps back in somehow, and Mary is going off on Lisa. They start arguing. The whole thing about them wearing the same jumpsuit came up, and I still stick by it. Mary wore it first, and Mary wore it better. Okay, she had the bedazzledness on the chest. The boots were bedazzled. Like, Lisa shit was plain. And then the other thing is Lisa, you can say you got it off the runway and you were sitting next to Kim Kardashian and Barack Obama and this person and Beyonce. It doesn't matter, girl. Okay, she wore it first. That's all that matters. Whoever wore it first won. Anybody after that is a copycat regardless of where you got it from. So you lost, girl. So then she starts talking about, oh, I have a shopper in Milan. And Mary's like, you don't have no damn shopper in Milan. Like, what's his name? Lisa says his name, and I'm like, well, you need to fire them because Lisa, nobody on Salt Lake City. Now, the girls, they not bad dresses. They not like Potomac. I'm always throw a dig at Potomac. Y'all know that. Nobody on Salt Lake City dresses too terribly, but nobody on Salt Lake City dresses good enough to the point where they need a personal shopper in Milan. Like, Lisa has not worn anything where I'm like, oh, girl, that's a look. Like, girl, you wear the same jumpsuit, pantsuit everywhere you go in a different color. You have never given us, I got a personal shopper. So what are they shopping? I don't get it. Bronwyn, she dresses like she got a personal shopper. Lisa, you dress like you just go to the store yourself. And it's okay, girl. Like, there's no way a personal shopper's bringing you out looking that basic. You still my girl, but it's basic. So they going back and forth. Mary is going off. She's talking about Lisa and Meredith need to jump in the leg. She's calling her a dingbat. Like, she's just going off. And she gets in her confessional and she's like, I just don't have time for this. And she starts crying. And I'm like, girl, you should have stayed home. I love you. And I'm glad you came and you were activated. But this not worth it. This not worth it. This not worth your mental health right now with everything you going through. You should have stayed home. So then Angie jumps back in and Meredith is like, well, Whitney calms things down. And Meredith is still trying to play the victim. She's like, well, I'm still offended about the hair aid comment. Angie's like, I didn't say that. And she's like, you did say that. And so finally Angie's like, well, you know what? Y'all need to shut the fuck up and let Mary and Lisa keep arguing. And so Bronwyn gets up. She's upset. She's like, I can't believe you said that to me. Meredith gets up. She's like, whatever. And so this, I'll give Meredith this because Angie is like, I was talking to them two right there. And Bronwyn's like, say that to me one more time, and you're never gonna hear from me again. If I was Angie, I'd be like, shut the fuck up. Like, girl, okay, who are you? Like, girl, come on. And I'm shocked because Bronwyn, you are a mouthy girl and you are clever with your words, and you just gonna get up and walk away. Like, I was waiting for you to gather her. But Meredith had it right. Meredith was like, girl, you're not talking. You can keep talking because I'm not listening to you. Now, that would have been more of a me response. If I didn't read her, because I really would have read her down. But if I didn't do that and I'm like, I'm not doing this with her, I'd have said what Meredith said. Like, girl, you can keep talking. You talking to yourself. I ain't listening. So the girls separate. Then they leave. We get to an event with Meredith. She's throwing her Shabbat dinner, I think it's called. Correct me if I'm wrong, y'all. I'm sorry. But she throws her little dinner. Everybody's invited except for Mary, Whitney, and Angie. And so here we go again. They keep throwing this thing out in the air of, oh, you know, Mary might be going through something. Mary might be going through something. And finally, Brittany, she's like, look, if she's really going through something, then we need to sit here and give her some grace. And how about y'all check on her? It's again, like, it got so somber that it was like, y'all know what's going on and y'all just don't want to say it. And if y'all know what's going on, someone should have reached out to her. Like, as somber as it got, if anybody else would have been like, oh, maybe they're going through something, it wouldn't have been as serious. But the fact that it got so serious, I'm like, y'all definitely 130% know what's going on. Before we get to this Mary scene, I want to address one more thing, and it was the Todd of it all. Todd is like, he got a background check. He ran through like the NSA on Bronwyn, and everyone's like, this man is a powerful man. This man is buying her $4 million necklaces. I don't blame him. And I wouldn't be mad. Like, if I was with some rich man and he ran a background check through the NSA on me and I passed, well, look at me. I got in. Okay. Like, what do you expect him to do? Like, y'all sitting here talking about, oh, he don't got a prenup. This is why he don't got a prenup. Because he ran that detailed background check on her. So he's like, all right, I got what I need. I got the information I need. It's like, no matter what Bronwyn does, y'all are going to drag her. The girls, not us. We love her. But the girls are going to drag her. Like, she's just in a lose-lose situation. But I know a lot of people are probably mad at Todd for that, especially with the way he's been carrying on the last few episodes. I don't blame him. You are a powerful man. I don't blame him. And I wouldn't be mad about it. Bronwyn not mad about it. She fine with it. And then Heather tried to throw a dig. Did he find your BYU stuff? Yeah. Girl, yeah. With your single ass. Pissing me off. Ooh. She might be under the couch with Meredith in a second. She might be under the couch. Now, I will also say this too. When Bronwyn was like, oh, I could be like a cunt. I'm also with Todd on that too. Like, if I'm at a dinner with some friends, like, that's just I'm like, don't say that. And maybe the way he said it could have been like a little harsh, but he's an old grumpy Santa. Like, what do you expect? But like, I kind of understand. I'm like, oh, like, don't say that. Not at the dinner table. So I see it there too. Now, on the reality of it all, we are on a reality TV show. Okay, whatever. But Todd's not operating as if we're in a reality TV show. Todd is operating as if he's just living his life. He ain't on the show. This is Bronwyn's show. But if he's at a dinner, he don't want his wife saying cunt at the dinner table. And I'm not mad at him for it. So, okay. Y'all, I'm going to try to get through this without crying. All right. So we get to Mary's house. Mary finally, meets with Robert Jr. She goes into his room. And so he gets out of bed and he's sitting kind of on the edge of the bed. Mary's sitting on the couch at the front of the bed. And so it's crazy because, just for a side note, I'm watching The Real Housewives of Orange County from season one. I'm on like season like 3 or 4 right now. And on season one, the girl Lori, her 13-year-old son, he's like 13 or 14, he had a drug problem also. And it was just crazy seeing like him in the confessional talking about it because he ended up getting like arrested on the first season, and she had to go like get him from jail, and he had to go to court, and like all of it unfolded. And even with all of that happening, I was like, dang, like that's like an awful thing. But this right here, this was just something different. Where do I even? Okay, sorry, y'all. So I got a lot to say about this, but let me get through the scene first before I say what I want to say. So Robert Jr. and Mary are talking. She's like, what's going on with you? Like, you've been sleeping all day. And so he's pretty much like he took a Xanax. And Mary said, well, what are you going to do? Like, you're just going to sleep all day? Is that your plan? And he's like, no, I took an Adderall to like balance it out. So pretty much, he's already doing this scene like, under the influence. And so he starts, talking about how, okay, I'm good, y'all. He starts talking about how when he was 16, like he was given a Xanax at a party. And from there, things just kind of went downhill. He just started mixing it with different things. And he's just listing off like all the stuff that he's mixing and like the dosages he was talking about. Like when he was talking about like the oxys and stuff like that. I don't know much about drugs, but I feel like all of that stuff he was mixing was enough to kill him. And so like Mary, she's crying, and she's pretty much like, I won't judge you. Like you can talk to me about this. And she's like, but I won't support this. And so she's like, do you realize like this is a problem? And she's like, this is a problem. Like this can kill you. And he's like, well, I did want to die because I just felt like a stain in the world. And the only reason that, he's still here is because of his relationship with his mother. And so Mary's pretty much telling him that, she loves him more than anything. And, you know, it would just like, it would kill her, if he wasn't here or something happened to him. And he's just like, he is just getting to the point where he's starting to feel a little bit happier. Like he's just been in a dark place pretty much. And he just started being happy. Sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. So let me take these off. I just want to start off by saying I commend Mary and Robert Jr. for having the courage to share that, because it's got to be hard to sit there and talk about that on national TV in front of millions of people who can pick it apart, because this can go like, either way. It can be people just sitting here, dragging them. And especially when it comes to people who are like addicts, I feel like a lot of people don't have sympathy for that. And so people could have just been out there saying like a lot of harsh or like mean things. At least from what I've seen so far, nobody has been. So it's nice to like see that. But I appreciate them sharing that, because I know there are a lot of people out here in the world who have been affected by stuff like this. And I feel like the way Married handled this should be like written down in a guidebook. If there wasn't a guidebook, because I know there's no guidebook to parenting. Being a parent is not easy. Being a single parent is not easy. Just being a mom is not easy in general. But if there was a guidebook to it and dealing with stuff like this, I feel like this should have been in that book, because the way Mary handled it was like perfect. Sitting there, making him comfortable, saying, look, you can tell me anything, but also like I'm not going to support this habit. I want to help you, and I want you to be comfortable enough to like come to me. I'm not going to sit here and drill you down and beat you down even more because you're going through it, but I'm not going to support it at the same time. Like that's how it should be done, you know? And then her asking like, do you realize this is a problem? Because like the first step to getting help is admitting that you have a problem. And until they admit that they have a problem, they can't be helped, and so like she handled that situation perfectly. And I felt bad for her because she's like, I feel like I failed you as a parent. And, I just dropped the ball. She's like, he used to be like a grade A student. And, I knew that, he did edibles and he smoked and stuff like that, but I didn't know the extent of things that were going on. And like, that's another thing too, was like, you got to check on your kids. You got to just check on people sometimes because everyone looks like they're doing okay on the outside, but they're not. And I know like a lot of people, it's like, oh, my son's getting A's and stuff like that. And he looks like he's maintaining life. He looks like he's doing good in school and stuff like that. And like, that's just like one side of it. Just because he's maintaining doesn't mean all that other stuff is not going on in the background. And it's easy to like lose focus on that. So it's a hard thing. It's a hard thing, but I hate the fact that she was blaming herself for it because sometimes like there's nothing you can do. You couldn't have been at that party to take it out of his hand, and you couldn't have, you did the best you could. There's nobody on this show that I think is a bad parent. I think everyone on here is great parents, including Mary. So I hate the fact that she was blaming herself, especially because my brother had a drug addiction also, and it ended up taking his life. And my mom, she tried everything she could do. She put him in rehab multiple times. She just did like so much, like everything she thought she could possibly do, she did. And at the end of the day, it still wasn't enough because it ended up taking his life anyway. And like she still beats herself up about it. And so I felt for Mary when she was like, she feels like she failed her because it kind of just reminded me, Lord, it just reminded me of like how my mom was affected by it and how she still is affected by it, and our entire family, honestly, because our family just completely broke apart because of that situation. But I'm not trying to make this about me. Going back to Mary and Robert, I'm so glad that they shared this because I hope this does help other people. And I'm glad that Bravo handled it the way they did. And it kind of has me looking at even like Potomac with this whole DUI situation with Karen. It's like, we know this girl has a problem, and like the editing is kind of making it like lighthearted and stuff like that. And now it has me second guessing it because I'm just like, damn, like, should we really be handling this way? But I just hope everything works out for Mary and Robert Jr. I hope he's doing better now. I know he was in rehab. I think she did say he was doing better, so I hope it continues. I hope their family thrives. I just hope everything works out for them. But yeah, I got through that. Let me tell y'all, I didn't cry when I watched it, y'all. I was bawling, and then when I watched it the second time, I only watched it twice. Usually, I try to watch these episodes like three times, just one time to enjoy and then two times to like take notes. But even after that first time, I was like, I don't know if I can watch this again because it was just too much. And even just thinking about it now, it was just, child, that was just too much. That was just too much. But I'm glad they did that. And I'm glad they shared that, like I said. And I hope it helps everybody. Let me get off of here. Bye, y'all. Let me know what y'all think. Bye.